you seen Star Wars?
Long live the Queen, Kathleen Kennedy, president of Lucasfilm, renewed for 3 more years, and long may she reign. I mean, I don't think any of us are genuinely surprised by this. Maybe if you're a subscriber of something like Doomcock, or you're part of the Fandom Menace who has always been buying into this narrative that she would be fired by the end of the 2021, this shouldn't come as a shock to you. I know I talked about this throughout the year as well. I had heard from sources that I do trust, and I know where they stand at with Disney and whatnot, that basically if Kathy wanted to leave, she could. Like, pretty much everything going forward was up to her, and at least on the Disney board side, they were operating under the assumption that she was just going to renew and keep going, and that seems to be what has happened. Doesn't mean Lucasfilm and Disney haven't been planning on backups. They have. Michelle Rejwan, who is the second in command over that Lucasfilm, the vice president of development for live action movies and whatnot, she was also kind of in consideration in case Kathleen Kennedy stepped down at this year, and she didn't. It's weird to even think that 3 years have gone by. You guys remember when they renewed the deal back in 2018 and how upset people were then? I feel like the perception of Kathleen Kennedy has kind of changed, because I'll give you my personal situation with this. I was not a fan of Kathleen Kennedy for about a year or so, and it was mainly after The Last Jedi released, because I realized, I was like, man, I really don't like the way she's running this company, and I don't like the way the Lucasfilm employees are engaging with Star Wars fans, and I just felt like the things were going the wrong route. But as I started doing more research on her, the behind-the-scenes production aspect of Star Wars and everything, I started to realize I have to give this woman the benefit of the doubt. She was brought into Lucasfilm in early 2012, and Lucas himself, George Lucas, said, I want you to be co-chairman. So, literally, Lucas was chairman. Now she is co-chairman, so those two were equal over there at Lucasfilm, even though George would have the final say on everything. But basically, we've always known that she would be the pioneer of the future of Star Wars. Even if they didn't sell Lucasfilm to Disney, she would have been in charge of Lucasfilm, and she definitely would have had no boss, and she would have had a lot more control over Lucasfilm than she does now. So in 2012, Lucas sells in late October, and he does that because of him wanting to get rid of Star Wars and just kind of get out of the business. So it escalates from co-chairman for Kathleen Kennedy to you're the president of Lucasfilm, and now you're going to run everything, and you're not doing it with George. You're doing it by yourself, and you got to be underneath Disney, and they also gave you 3 years to make a brand new trilogy and 2 other films. That's a lot of pressure. And so I gave Kathleen Kennedy the benefit of the doubt. I really feel like she was put under a lot of pressure and put on a very rushed schedule. She's made some right moves. She's given Jon Favreau creative control over something like The Mandalorian. She gave Dave Filoni the option. She said, hey, what do you want to do? What's your future at this company? And she supported him on no matter what he did and said. He said he wanted to do live action, so she started taking him to film school. She brought him on the set for the live action Star Wars movies, and now she's letting him helm his own series. He's working with Jon Favreau, learning underneath him. She's handled certain things very correctly in Lucasfilm and Star Wars. However, she has also dropped the ball numerous times, and I think now even people like myself, and maybe people even more educated than myself in the industry, people I would consider reasonable, people who I think would not be critical of Kathleen Kennedy, are now kind of looking at her and going, okay, Kathy, something does have to change. I'm not saying you should not be Lucasfilm president. I'm not saying that you are the worst person for this job. You're extremely qualified for this job. She is not only one of the most experienced producers in Hollywood, this is not an exaggeration, she is the most powerful woman in Hollywood. So I'm fine with her being Lucasfilm president. I'm not fine with all the actions and choices that she has made as Lucasfilm president. It seems like she has had an issue bringing in creators and bringing in people to make stories in Star Wars, whether they be Star Wars writers or Star Wars directors, and not fully committing to them or just trusting them. She seems to have this pattern of if someone has done something successful or has done something really popular and really good, and they're kind of the new big thing on the scene for movie making, she brings them in for a Star Wars movie, realizes they're not exactly what she wanted, and they're not going to do everything that she wants, and so creative differences arise, and they go their separate ways. And it's troubling. It is troubling, and it's made it hard to be excited about any future Star Wars projects. I'm not upset that she has been renewed, because I expected her to be renewed. My big problem right now with people who are like, I don't want Kathleen Kennedy as Lucasfilm president. I'm not saying I don't understand that. My question is, who would replace her? That's the question. Who? Who would replace this woman? I don't think anyone can do it right now, and honestly, I don't think anybody wants to do it. There's so many fans who don't know what they're talking about, and they're like, Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni does not need to run Lucasfilm. He is great at what he does, and that is telling and creating amazing stories in Star Wars. Why would you put him in an office job where he can no longer do that, and now he has to control everyone else's stories? I would say Jon Favreau, but I love what he's done with The Mandalorian, and I want him to continue down that route. So outside of a Hail Mary of bringing in Kevin Feige, which I will note Disney is interested in having Kevin Feige as Lucasfilm president, I have heard that they are willing to throw him boo-hoo fucking money to get him on board and give him a large cut of the profit from Star Wars movies if he came on board. But I don't think he even wants to do that at the moment. He's still got his hands full with Marvel, and maybe he gets a taste of Star Wars with his Star Wars movie and then kind of wants to go on from there. But still, the option of Kathleen Kennedy leaving is not up to Disney. It's not up to Lucasfilm executives. It's up to Kathleen Kennedy, and she doesn't want to leave, and so she doesn't have to. And I think she really wants to end her career with Indiana Jones 5 coming out. I've always said that. I've always said that should be her last movie, and I really feel like it will be, but the way things are going now, I really don't know. And I also feel like she wants to end on a good note with Star Wars. The last movie that came out was The Rise of Skywalker. It's not having the best reception. The sequels haven't had the best reception. Just things in general, Kathleen herself knows. She's self-aware. She knows the perception of her at the moment, because when she let go of the guys from Game of Thrones, David Benioff and Dan Weiss, people who are close to her were talking to Variety and The Hollywood Reporter, and were saying things like she doesn't want to continue to let go of directors and writers because she knows that the perception of her is that this is a common trend with Star Wars right now. And it is. And like I was saying earlier, she goes after people who are kind of popular. Colin Trevorrow makes Jurassic World. All right, let's get him to do episode 9. Then he comes out with the Book of Henry, I think is what it's called, and that flopped. And so they're like, this guy's not looking so great right now. Same thing with the Solo guys. Chris Lore and Phil Miller, they were making a Solo movie, and halfway through production, they didn't like the way they were doing things. And so creative differences, they get him out of the movie halfway through production, which is crazy. And the same thing happened with the Game of Thrones guys. They were doing great. Lucasfilm brings them in for a new trilogy and then realizes after season 8 of the Game of Thrones, oh my god, these guys have no idea what the fuck they're doing. Let's get rid of them. And even with the writers for A Quiet Place, she brought in those guys after the movie came out to talk to them about doing a Star Wars project, and they turned it down, rightfully so. I imagine they probably wouldn't like the creative limits that they have, and so they left. So it seems like the problem is consistently Lucasfilm executives, whether it be Kathleen Kennedy, whether it be Michelle Rizwan, whether it be anyone over there at the Lucasfilm Executive Board, mending with the stories that Star Wars has, and kind of getting in the way of these creators who want to tell their own Star Wars stories. And I understand this is a very delicate franchise and an IP that you have to keep controlled. But at the same time, George Lucas didn't make Lucasfilm to restrict creators. One of the reasons he and Francis Ford Coppola made American Zoetrope was to have a lot of independent filmmakers come in and not be involved with the typical Hollywood studio system. And that's kind of what Lucasfilm has become underneath Disney. And Kathleen Kennedy being someone who was already in the Hollywood studio system, it makes sense why this is kind of becoming a problem with us for Star Wars fans looking at Lucasfilm being like things are being ran right, because it's been ran the way Hollywood has always been ran. And I think Kathleen Kennedy, hopefully over these next 3 years, can notice that and change things, because I'm concerned at the moment. I'm concerned about the future movies, because it seems like they're making a lot of good choices, possibly getting an Old Republic movie, possibly getting a High Republic movie. Rogue Squadron's been delayed a little bit. Taika Waititi's getting a movie. Kevin Feige's getting a movie. Some of these ideas are really good, and it does seem like Kathleen has opened up to listening to the fans a little bit more. She's been actively working on getting an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie or series since 2015. That's on behalf of the fans. Same with the Old Republic. She was not opposed to that idea, and not even opposed to using stuff from the Star Wars Underworld series that George Lucas was making. So it doesn't seem like she is against the fans. It doesn't seem like she's trying to ruin Star Wars anyway. It seems like she's an overprotective parent of Star Wars, and she's just concerned that her kid is going to fall on its face, kind of like Solo Star Wars Story did, and just she's concerned that these creators and directors and writers who are coming in to make Star Wars aren't going to do it the way that it should be done, and she wants it to be done right, and I absolutely understand that, but sometimes you just got to take a risk. So I hope Kathleen takes a little bit more risk over these next 3 years. I wouldn't be surprised if she even renewed again in 2024 to finish out either the decade or just get another 3 years in. Personally, I would not be surprised if she stayed on until Rian Johnson's trilogy got started. I have a weird inclination that she's really hellbent on getting that going. But at the moment, who knows? So tell me your guys' thoughts in the comment section below. What do you guys think about this news that Kathleen Kennedy's been signed on for another 3 years? I don't think any of us should be surprised. I think we all expected this. At least you've been following my channel for a while. We all kind of knew this was coming. But now we have some news about it, and more than one or two sources have been coming out and saying this is true. So tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. Please leave a like on this video to support the channel and help me out in the algorithm. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'm Star Wars Only. I'll see you all next time, and may the Force be with you always.